We'll give it a minute, wait for people to jump on, and then get going. Right now, we are live on everything.
Heyo, let's go.
Yo, buddy. The first comment I'm going to get is no Arby's Cup.
I already made that comment.
Yeah, no, people watch for it. It's like, it's become a thing. It's a pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah, you're giving free advertising to Arby's and they won't even say anything back to you.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Is it a Donald Duck cup or am I saying?
Oh no, that's Donald Duck. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that's how I roll. Donald's my favorite character, hands down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you also like the Scrooge?
Scrooge McDuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. I'll watch DuckTales when I'm done with Quack Pack or something.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll get it going. Okay. All right, guys. Welcome. It's Tuesday, so we have a show tonight. Tonight I have a guest brought to us by the Arby's Skype hotline. We'll go ahead and let her introduce herself. And tonight we're going to be talking about relational coaching. Go ahead.
All right. I'm Kristin Adair. I'm the head age group coach of RIO Swim Club here in Phoenix. What else do you want to know about me?
Give them a little background. How long have you been there? What kind of toothpaste do you use?
What was that?
What kind of toothpaste do you use?
Okay. Sensodyne, extra whitening.
There you go. There you go.
Toothbrush. Yeah. Let's see. I've been at RIO for 5 years. I'm coming up on the 6th year here. I started at RIO literally as the lowliest of the lowliest assistants. I was placed next to the loudest coach possible at all the meets. That was what I was forced to do because I was young and I didn't know any better. And I just stuck with it, and I have learned a lot and been lucky enough to be given some opportunities and just, learned a lot from all the coaches there, got a group, and then now I'm the head age group coach. I graduated from ASU last year with my degree in secondary ed for biology, but I just found through college that I loved coaching and I wanted to do that rather than teach. So what else do you want to know about me?
No, that's perfect. I mean, I maybe would have mentioned that you were on the all-star team coaching staff, but, maybe I'm a little less humble than you are. That's fine. So, Kristin, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit, how much time a day do you spend thinking about relating to your athletes?
I spend probably the majority of my day that I've allocated to coaching thinking about the relationship I have with my athletes and how to develop it. And even more so than just the athletes, but also with the parents. A typical day, I'm writing 2 to 3 workouts a day, so I typically spend about an hour to maybe an hour and a half writing workouts. I have a general season plan by the beginning of the season, but every 2 or 3 weeks I kind of touch in on it, and then the rest of what I do for coaching is relational.
Right on.
Can you guys hear me? You're frozen on my screen.
You're frozen too, but we have audio, so we're just gonna keep on rolling and let it catch up. They can see you. You're just not moving. But your eyes are open, so it's
we were just talking about having no technical difficulties, and
oh no, that's why we have it. But it's all right. So you spend an hour and a half writing your workouts. How much time in comparison do you think you spend working on thinking about that relational aspect? Have you lost audio? One second, guys. I'm just going to give her a call back and we can make that work.
oh,
all right. Okay, we're back, guys. So yeah, the question.
Having technical, it's fun.
Yeah. So the question I had posed just then was, you said you spend between an hour and a half writing your workouts. How much time, by comparison, do you spend thinking about those relationships?
Yeah, what I went on to say, and then I think that we got cut off by that point, was in essence the rest of the time that I spend coaching is working on the relationship, thinking about the relationship with the athletes, and also developing the relationship with the parents. I typically have about at least one phone call with a parent or somebody a day, typically a couple more than that, and we talk from literally how they think their kid is doing right now and how they feel about the way that their kid's swimming to the parents who are a little bit more engaged and have a little bit more swim background, some of the more nitty gritty things that we're doing in practice. But I probably in comparison spend, I don't know, 5 hours a day thinking about that versus an hour-ish on practice. When I'm at the pool on practice, I spend, if we're doing some techniques work, that's probably the most swim-related thing that we do. But most of the rest of the time I spend talking with the kids, developing a relationship with them, trying to make sure that our relationship has some of some foundation that is not related to swim, but also when they have problems or they have feelings or emotions about their swim, they feel like they can come to me, that I'm not just like a friend, I'm more of a coach. So the majority of the time I spend in practice is getting the kids to talk to each other, having me talking to the kids and trying to get them to relate what they're doing in the water to their life as a whole.
Yeah. So I think you said something really interesting there about how it's not being a friend, it's being a coach. So I think that's a really important line that a lot of coaches can make a big mistake there is when you're being social with the swimmers and you're talking to them about things and you're trying to relate to them, that first period of time is all teaching them this is the line. Okay? We're coming here to this line where we're going to stay parallel the rest of the way. Like we aren't going to be best friends. I'm still in a position of authority. You still need to respect what I'm saying. You still need to treat me with respect, but having that banter that allows them to feel comfortable listening to you, because it's not it's not like school. We aren't a teacher where we have a grade and we're going to send a report card home. Like their whole life is based on their grades. Swimming's not quite that way. Sports aren't quite that way. It's you get in the pool, you swim, and you have a coach that you either like or dislike, and how that coach treats you and how you treat them really can create that barrier and hopefully set them up for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I think that the foundation for any coach and athlete working together well is the relationship that they have. And a lot of that has to do with how much the coach trusts the athlete and vice versa, how much the athlete trusts the coach. So I think that there is definitely some room to be said for you have to have a foundation of things that are outside of swim. You need to know what grade they're in and what they like to do at school and what's their family like. Do they have other hobbies? All these other things that you find out about the kids. But when push comes to shove and you're trying to get them to perform at a higher level, whether it's in practice or you're trying to get them to cool down better at a meet, they're only going to do what you say if they trust that you have what's best for them in your heart. There is always a line. I used to, when I was younger, coach more at, like, do what I say because I'm the coach and because I said so. And that does take you somewhere, but it only takes you so far, especially if you have athletes in your group or you work with them on your team for years at a time. That is not going to take you to the highest levels, I don't think, of their performance. So when I spent a lot more time prioritizing, does the athlete trust me? Do they feel like they can fail when they're around me and I'm not going to hold it against them? Do they feel like the group that they're in is where they belong and somewhere that they feel like they can fail and then learn from it. My kids started to engage more with practice in general, and they also started to bring me into the things that they were having problems with, and that helped me be able to help them more. Because sometimes it's as simple as telling a kid, like, they just don't think they can do it anymore, right? And so then they have that. You can have that conversation because you have that trust with them, and they trust you. And like you said, we're not a teacher. We are an authority figure, but we're not there just to tell them what to do and then turn around and send a report card home.
Yeah.
We're there to try to help them get their goals. And if they don't trust me, I feel like there's no way that I can get them to where their goals are.
Yeah, no, I agree. It takes a special kind of athlete to just be beaten down all the time by the coach and just be yelled at all the time. There has to be that trust that you set the expectations and you trust that they're meeting them, that they're giving their best effort. And I think that's where that trust really starts. And then it's, like you said, knowing what grade they're in, knowing, what other sports they're playing, or if they play an instrument, that type of thing. But on the opposite side, there's that nice safety net for those kids where if something's going on that maybe they don't feel comfortable talking about with their parents, if there's a bullying situation, creating that relationship allows the coach to really get in there and fix it, or at least notify people who can fix it. And I think that's, as far as a safety aspect for the swimmer, that's our job too, is creating a safe space for them and making sure that if there is a problem, we can notify the proper authorities. In that building that relationship with, the jokes or with fun games or even just remembering their name, it goes a long way towards preventing those types of issues.
Yeah, and I mean, thank God I have never been in a situation where a kid told me something and then I had to report it. I know a lot of coaches who have been in that situation, but even on a less serious level, Paul, have you gone through a season with a kid and then turned around and they told you, like, hey, this thing happened? Oh no.
We still have audio on this end, so you can go ahead and keep going. All right, guys. Hang tight one more time. We're just going to restart this video. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, on a less serious note, Paul, have you finished a season or maybe even a couple years later and a kid tells you oh yeah, I had this thing going on, and you're like, oh well, that makes so much sense why you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing in practice?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Have you ever had that? Yeah, I mean, I just had that last season. We found out this girl in my group was anemic and she had mono, and none of us knew that. And because of the way that we handled that situation and the relationship that her and I had, we came out of it fine. She's not mad at me. I guess it's not even about whether she likes me or not, but we came out of that relationship with her trusting me more, rather than turning around and thinking well, if I fail, Kristen's gonna hate me, and so I'm never gonna, it was not defeating to her. She was just oh, we found the problem, now we fixed it. And I trust Kristin more because she didn't berate me or even just lose faith in me or lose sight of me because of some issue that she had.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
you know what? Let's try this.
So it's.
Oh, are you back?
Yeah.
Is it you or me, do you think?
I have no idea because I keep getting audio, so I haven't had any issues with your audio. But it's almost like when you create that relationship, when you put in the time relationally with the athlete, they're so much more open to setting their sights further down the line goal-wise because they feel like it's okay if they fall short, but they can push themselves to be there. So yeah, you may be a little bit more strict um, and get some results, but you're not creating an environment that the athlete is comfortable reaching beyond their reach. You can always reach goals, but are you going to get what the athlete really wants? And I think building that relationship first, you can have you can almost mold that kid's mind into thinking they can do things that they can't, but or they may not be able to at that moment, but through time they can get there, and they've set their sights out that far already. So now it's just our job to find a way to help them reach those goals rather than the kid who is afraid not to meet the goals. Now they feel supported, and it's just it's a snowball effect of everything just starts clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking. Even if you fail meeting the exorbitant goals that you set up, you have a much better shot at least getting further down the line had you not set the goals there in the first place. So that comfortability with failure is kind of the byproduct in a roundabout way. It's that acceptance that failure is an option, and you're allowed to fail, and it's almost expected that that relationship allows to happen. Is that more or less track? But it's always a fun conversation on what can coaches do to build those relationships. And I think Kristin's set up a really nice conversation started here where it's getting to know the kids and just knowing their names, knowing what grade they're in, knowing something they like to do, and making it a safe space. And Kristin, can you talk a little bit on what it takes to create that welcoming environment? Because I don't think any coach can reach every single kid in a deep, impactful way on a daily basis. We're going to miss something along the road. So how do you create that environment where even say you're dealing with a couple other kids, kid number 3 doesn't feel left out?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, everybody's group is a different size, but sometimes your group is 12 kids because it's Christmas, and then sometimes your group is 30 kids and everyone is there that day. And it's impossible to it's a
All right, we lost a little bit of audio here. We're going to make it work, but we can talk while we're setting this up. We can kind of talk about those boundaries and how to set those up. The big thing I'm a believer in is that relationship has to be functional. Like you have to be able to talk to each other. You have to be able to develop a relationship. But on the opposite end, we touched on it earlier. We can't just be a best friend. Okay, we aren't gonna be talking outside of the pool. We aren't going to be texting. We aren't going to be on the phone. That's not something that happens. But how we set those boundaries is having rules. At least for me, I like to have a certain set of rules where we're going to go when I say go. And it's not an argument. It's not a debate. And I'll provide time, and I'll always provide the parameters of, hey, on the 6-minute mark, we are starting. And that's non-negotiable. That's something that's going to happen every time. And it takes time to build, but it's something where you put in your dues, you work on that every day with your group. It pays dividends. So then you can focus on those other aspects of relationship building. And we were talking with Kristin about being open to them having failures, being understanding when they're having failures. And it makes a large impact on those swimmers. But by having those rules in conjunction with the relationship, teaches the kids about respect and authority. And I think that's essentially our biggest goal. All right, welcome back. So while we were on break, I was just talking to them about. I went backwards and talked more about creating a relationship that has boundaries. So like And I talk about the biggest way that I do that is by having certain rules. There's always expectations as far as I may give them a little bit of space, but I'm always going to tell them, okay, on the 7-minute mark we are going, and that's a non-negotiable. That's where I make that distinction. Right now we are done talking and we're going. I'm happy to talk to you about other things after the set or in between sets, but now it's swim time. And helping to have those rules helps create that distinction of when Coach Paul is being relational and when Coach Paul is in authority, and allowing them to understand that we can have a healthy relationship, we can have conversations, but at the end of the day, I'm not a friend, I'm a coach.
Yeah, I mean that can be the hardest part is you turn the corner a little bit into the kids just think they can do whatever, which is the situation no coach wants to be in. And I've done similar to what you have done, which is just be very, very clear with athletes of, hey, this time is your time to work on your stroke or whatever we're doing. And there's a little bit more free and everyone's laughing and talking. And, I talk to the kids about their technique or whatever, make jokes with them. But then when it turns around and we're descending and now it's hard, there's no joking around from me anymore. They know that I'm serious, and if they're not going hard, then I'm going to get on them for it. Of course, getting on the kids who have their goals where they need to do that. And so I have found, I think, similar to you, that when you're very clear about what you expect from them, then they know what they need to be doing. And if you have a relationship where they trust you, they're going to trust that what you're asking them to do is what's best for them, even if it hurts right now.
Yeah.
And if that's the thing, because nobody wants to descend to faster than 200 pace because it hurts. Like, that's the whole reason why kids don't try hard. But if you can get them to trust you and to understand the reason why they need to do that, and they can take that message from you, then that's how you teach them and have them and walk away from that practice with not feeling like you were on top of them or berating them. Because I've seen a lot of really good coaches who have by no means been berating their swimmers or their kids, but the kids walk away going like, oh, they're always mad at me. Yeah. And it's not true. The kid was not in the place to receive the message from that coach then. So yeah, I think that in the room, that's always where the coach needs to figure out, hey, this is a time I need to prioritize my relationship over whatever this message is.
Yeah, and I think as a coach, when I have kids that are going home upset, it comes back on me on what did I do? How did I fail to communicate? No, this doesn't hurt your value. This doesn't make me think less of you. How did I fail to communicate my expectations?
Right. And I will say, I have sent kids home before upset with me, but I always have chosen to leave that conversation with them upset with me. Because there have been times I've done that. And every single time, if the kid's under like 15 years old, I always send a text home to a parent and be like, hey, I know they're probably upset with me, or blah, 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 cried when I told them this, but this is the reason why, and like I wanted to make sure. And I've never had a problem from a parent side, having an issue with me doing that. They feel informed. The kid needed to hear the thing at that time, and I got to tell the kid what they needed. Because I think there are times when kids are making excuses, kids are whining, and they have to get over that at some point. But I have found that if I make a point to really communicate with the kids, communicate with parents, it's almost like my ass is covered. The kid has nowhere to run for the adults in their life about, they're just stuck in this corner of their excuse. And now, if they want to get out of it, they have to embrace whatever the message is that I'm trying to tell them.
Yeah. And those kids come back the next day to practice, right?
Yeah.
Because you've built that relationship. You're allowed to be upset at people. You're not supposed to. You aren't going to be happy with every swimmer all the time. The swimmers are going to make mistakes. They're going to make you angry. They're going to not make the adjustments when they're supposed to. But knowing when to drop the hammer and knowing that you can drop the hammer because that swimmer trusts you and trusts your opinion, is a big distinction.
I will say, like, this last season, there's one swimmer that I had who set certain goals, and she was not doing what she needed to do. By, like, December, our championship meets in March, she's not doing what she needed to do. And I was on her all the time about it. There was nothing wrong. She wasn't, she should have been doing more than what she was.
Yeah.
And her only excuse is I'm tired, which is, it's not an excuse if you want to hit your goals. So we went through like a roller coaster of a season with how she felt about me. But by the time the season ended and we had figured things out and got rolling, she was 100% fine with having me as her coach. Her parents, I made a point to really communicate with them the whole season, so they were always on my side. And she now is like one of the best swimmers in the group because she trusts that I'm telling her the truth. She trusts that I'm not going to let her off the hook, and that when I say something to her, I actually mean it.
Yeah.
And so now, we're not swimming right now, but after we had these end of the season meets and things had figured out, like she is way more on my side than she was 6 months ago, and it's all because I didn't hold it against her for not trying her hardest. I understand why she wouldn't want to, but I was honest with her, and I always prioritized her and I continuing to have a relationship rather than us just leaving frustrated with each other. And now we're fine. And that's, it was a 6-month story. There are stories that are longer, that are 2 or 3 years long, but I think that every time you prioritize the swimmer or the person over the swimmer, you come out of it with the right side in the end.
No, I like that. Treating the person, not the swimmer. I think that's an excellent point. But so let's go ahead. Let's recap kind of what we talked about.
Yeah.
So we talked about the importance of spending time thinking about how to develop the relationships. Both me and Kristin are spending about 300% of the time we're spending writing the workouts, thinking about ways to better relate to the swimmers and how to better make them feel comfortable in their space. We talked about setting boundaries and making sure that relationship doesn't cross into being friends. It is a coach-swimmer relationship. Then we talked about why that relationship can lead to larger goals and why that relationship can lead to the bumps in the road being smaller, that you're going to get over them faster.
Yeah.
So just finding ways to communicate with your athletes, whether it's just having a fun game day or talking to them about something that they did at school, goes a long, long way. Kristin, do you want to go ahead and, if you guys have any questions, throw them up there while Kristin is kind of talking about where you can reach her. If you have any more questions, go ahead and throw out your Instagram, email, no
What
phone
is
numbers.
My email is very simple. It's Kristin at RIO Swim Team, but my name is Kristin, not En. I'm looking up I don't even know my Instagram's K8Air9, so it's my last name. KADAIR, the number 9. Yeah, email me. If you get in touch with Paul, he can get it in touch to me. So
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kristin, for coming in, and thank you guys for watching. And I'll be back here tomorrow with Brian Hoffer.